Всем привет! Сегодня читаю эту книгу. Глава 1. Я совсем не сентиментальна и даже немного цинична, как все профессионалы, коим я имел наглость себя относить. Еще не было не самоубийц, хотя и стараюсь. По возможности, конечно, это не афишировать. And welcome to my ASMR canal, bitch. I'm just joking. Anyways, I wanted to talk about this for a long time, and I saw this little thing on the Instagrams, like, reposted by somebody. So, I did what any reasonable person that has made YouTube content for over a decade now. I probably took a screenshot because I said this would make an excellent thumbnail. And now I will execute the making of the video, Russian novel reading aside. So, I left spirituality a very long time ago, and I think, honestly, my life benefited exponentially from it. See, people want to make spirituality either out to be this very religious experience, or they want to make it this highly like personalized, unique experience. And while discussing the origin of things might be important, gotta get my ashtray ready. I think us people have a tendency to get a little lost in the sauce, you know what I'm saying? And if you don't, it's things like not every thought you have is a download from the source. Tarot cards aren't really going to help you out at all. Natal charts are bullshit for the most part. And then a lot of this is just kind of like unhealthy to me. I don't know. But I think it all ties into this all-encompassing type of broad title you could put on it called spiritual psychosis. And while I think like maybe mainstream religion has kind of been out the door for a long time, I think these kind of new agey type of people filled that sort of void. So while you don't see, in my opinion, you don't see as many of like the trad Christian types and stuff as you used to. Whereas everybody now wants to be like their own unique flavor, and there's really no cohesion, it seems, in spiritual matters anymore. As in, you could say organized religion really did fall off. And I think, like, you know, there was always, like, the occult section of, like, Barnes and Noble and stuff, but I think, like, YouTube, but really more so, like, TikTok really exploded these subjects in popularity. I don't know exactly how long this video is about to be, but I have a lot to say on the subject because I've seen people in my personal life fall victim to this. I've seen people turn into complete monsters. This is bothering the shit out of me. Gotta even those bad boys out. Fuck. Okay. I've seen it turn some people into legitimate, unrecognizable monsters. It's kind of incredible what people will be capable of once they feel like they have some sort of power over a situation. I've seen people just completely not be in touch with reality because of these things, because they're like preoccupied in their own head. And I've seen complete, you know, how do I put this? Like in Islam, there's this concept of al-fitna, and al-fitna means like the test, right? And basically, for example, if like what I crave most in life would be like to have a family, right? But I know in order to do that, that's a very serious undertaking to have a child, to get somebody pregnant. And look, I've almost made bad mistakes in the past, and basically, al-fitna would be like I get sent someone, and they're like very easy. It might not be the right term, but basically, I will be tempted with something that's what I want, but in a really messed up way. Or like, it might be someone who would be like wanting to have a family, but wanting to control the script, or wanting to have a family, but really doesn't want my input in it, type of thing. So it's really important that you like, when you have these desires, and it could really be anything, we have to make sure that we patiently like sit through these things. We have to make sure that yes, the feelings part is nice, but you know, mind and the heart, brain and heart have to align at the end of the day, right? If there's no alignment, you can't really move forward. And if there's alignment in the other way, you could always move backward, but you can't really ever move forward. And if your heart's forcing you forward and your brain's holding you back, or vice versa, right? And that's a pretty good way to put it, I think. But to bring it back full circle, you're not gonna believe this. I almost forgot entirely what I was talking about. I think a lot of people that fall into this trap of spiritual psychosis, it stems from like this impatience. I think people like to take a lot of comfort in thinking that they have some type of control over what's going on, and maybe not control, but at least if you know, or you have a feeling that you know what's happening, that's also somewhat of a feeling of control over a situation, because at least you can anticipate, right? So, like, of course, people really like, the tarot card readings and stuff that makes them, I always notice, like, two camps with that. It's either, like, perpetually, like, your ex is coming back soon, or people are gang stalking you, or you're gonna be filthy rich, Obviously, someone's trying to, like, make some money. But it always seems to be like hyper paranoid or hyper lustful personalities. And I don't understand why. And everything about this like new agey type of thing to me seems like really malevolent rather, and kind of manipulative. Like, I made a video about this back when I lived in my loft apartment. I think it kind of coincided with like I think it was like part of a red flags video or something I did like almost 2 years ago now. Someone had made a comment. I remember like getting into kind of, it was the first time I like actually thought about a response to a YouTube comment, let alone really replied to a YouTube comment on my video that wasn't like a pal of mine in years. As I think I said, and I still stand by this, because I've been, you know, those types of people have hit me with that, like in dating situations, like new agey people are quite often like, oh, soulmates or twin flames. Now I can get behind soulmate in like an endearing way, but to me that would still be like a really like heavy term, and that would be something I don't think I could really like call somebody unless, you know, I've been with them for like a long ass time. Now, twin flame, in my opinion, is just really absurd. Um, because the way it's presented is like, you were one soul split apart, then you're supposed to be together, but it's never supposed to work out. But what they don't tell you is that that's like a bastardization in a way of like Greek folklore, and even in that instance, like nobody, like not everybody has this like a twin flame, right? And I just don't I don't really subscribe to that. Like everything's predetermined, and like, it's really worth the effort into putting into relationships, stuff like everything's predetermined, and like you're supposed to be like matched up like this at this point in life. Like, where's the free will anymore? Like, wasn't the whole point of getting rid or getting away from Christianity was to like escape that like not having any free will type of thing? But now we're just doing that same thing, but saying like it's within energy and people and all sorts of other things. And it's just like, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, because it just seems to be like a lot of spiritual gobbledygook. And it just seems like it's really prime for like broken people to hang on to this thing for like a sense of hope. And they start to feel like smarter than people because they have knowledge that apparently is exclusive to them, right? Like they have obtained this secret knowledge that's just been hidden for thousands of years, and so on and so forth. Like, yeah, people used to believe that we could curse each other, but we don't really do that anymore, right? Think about it. They kind of like spawned a lot of like religious traditions we have today. Like praying in a sense is like the natural, you know, the how do I want to put this? Praying is kind of like an alternate version of an offering, right? In a sense, it is an offering because you're offering your time or your energy. But I think, you know, there's a lot of people that just have like personal life on here I've seen, and it's just always like that same caricature of just like lost, broken people and a little bit of power because they've never really felt empowered in their life before, and they're just a fucking comic book ass villain, you know. I've seen people in my personal life be driven mad by desire and turn to like hoodoo spells and like write names in underpants and shit like that to drive people mad and wonder why like their whole life falls apart and shit. I knew like another person that literally thought like any sort of thought that their mind may have conjured was some sort of download from the source. And that they needed to investigate that. And that they could feel energetic fields. And then I dated this other person that like was just a real fucking whack job and like had onions in the perimeter of like their fucking lawn, and then like swore that they could feel like the energy of ghosts in the room and they could like ring a bell at them to destroy them. I don't know, it was some crazy fucking shit. I mean, yeah, at the time I believed it because I was young and stupid, but you know, you get older and you think about these types of things a little bit harder, and you're like, well, I was like surrounded by a lot of insane fucking people. Hey, but what can you do? You were also insane yourself. Um, I got interested in this occult stuff really early, like personally speaking, and it too ruined my life because I thought that I could just change the course of events by doing some sort of spell, you know. I remember I was 18. I remember I was 18 years old and I really needed to pass this math class to be able to graduate on time and just grab my diploma like everybody else. But guess what? I failed that math exam, so therefore I failed the class and I had to take summer school, and I still got to walk and grab my diploma with everybody else, but you know, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same experience that everybody else had. You know, so I was like a little over 10 years ago now, probably going on 11 years ago now, that would have happened. And boy, was that embarrassing. So I had to take like a quick summer school session and get my fucking diploma and roll out so I could visit my late grandfather in South Carolina. Later that same year, I fell madly in love with this girl. We never did end up going out, but wow. I mean, we talked to each other for a long time, and I loved this girl. I really did love this girl, and she loved me, and it just never happened. And that is what it is. And, I remember, like, I remember, like, contemplating, because I was so, like, nervous, right? That she would, like, be wooed by somebody else. I was like, oh my god, like, because it was, like, some guy or something. I was like, oh, I gotta do, like, some spell so this guy, like, leaves her alone. And, I just have, like, thoughts like that. And, like, on the principle of it, that's really fucked up, you know? Even if all things aside, like, say I'm right and it's not real, if you're doing, like, spells like that, where you're, like, trying to, like, punish people for, like, no reason, you're a bad person. And, like, I was a bad person back then, you know? I really didn't like myself for a long time. But, the fucking feeling that I was like some sort of mage, like demigod, certainly was not helping me grow as a person. Or I could bring up a really good YouTuber. Not a really good YouTuber, but a really good example of a spiritual psychosis riddled YouTuber currently. If you've ever heard of Six Hexenhammer 666, the guy that does like political commentary, but talks about like centuries old occult manuscripts, well, he's kind of, I think, facing like the beginning of his end. The guy certainly was more of like a slow burn lolcow as opposed to like an explosion overnight sensation, like I don't know, airsoft fatty. I don't know. But you know, that's what happens, bro. Is like you spend all your time like investing in these demons. And look, I'm not religious. I probably should have prefaced the video by saying that. Because I feel like I'm probably one of the only people right now that's not like a hardline atheist, or like, I would just simply say I am deist in the direction of Judaism. And I don't really care to explain my beliefs further than that. God to me isn't like anything that we can comprehend. So I don't put a lot of stock into what's going to happen after this existence personally. I really just care about being able to do good works in this lifetime. And this is it's sad because with the Sticks guy, he could have been like a bright guy, you know? Like, you go look at like the oldest videos from this guy, he had like that spark in him. He was a great mind. Something happened, and he's a drunkard, man. I guess it hurts for me because it was sort of like a cult of personality for me when I was younger, because I really looked up to that guy a lot, man. Like, I thought he was so smart. I thought he was about his shit. And at the time, you know, I guess so. Like, I started watching him at 16. And he was, what? Probably in his early 20s or something like that. And then, you know, you kind of sit back and you get to like the age that he was in like those times, right? And you're like, okay, I've lived in like a bunch of different places. I lived on my own. This guy's like still living in like his parents' house, talking about medieval like occult grimoires and translating them, and like trying to front like he makes a lot of money off of this, but he's been living with his folks for like years, and it just progresses and gets worse, and he's like catching assault charges and spending time in jail and getting arrested, and that gets filmed and fucking put up on the internet somewhere. And like, you know, I like a year ago when I was living in St. Louis, I was watching this one guy, and he was talking about like being a like Muslim revert, and like talking about the jinn. Now this concept really interests me, right? because I don't really think Christians get this concept right, but I really like the way that Muslims think about it with jinn, right? So it's not that demons are really looking for your soul so much as they're looking for your time, as in like being able to drink, being able to smoke, like the physical things that they can't do, which translates to time. Or they want to corrupt you to do the bad things because they're not in the flesh and capable of doing it themselves like they'd like to be. So this is why like these people are so filled with hate and like so like in his case at least, and they get like fucking, he gets like loaded and like, you know, just lives that way. Sometimes spirituality is just as simple as like surviving a day. Sometimes it's getting up and combing your hair, brushing your teeth. For some people, it's actually getting out of the bed that day, you know. Spirituality is not really like this grand religious experience. If that's the case, you're really just soul like thrill seeking. The real spirituality comes in the pain, you know, the heartbreaks, losing friends, the seeing people change before your very eyes. That's spirituality. How do you look at death after like a loved one dies? How do you look at life? Like, what are the things that matter? That's spirituality to me. Not some fucking prick windbagging about enlightenment. Not some fucking prick like preaching at you about how they've got it figured out. If they really had it figured out, they wouldn't need to talk to you about it. They wouldn't need to convince you on it. Because when they're trying to convince you, that means they're unsure themselves and they need at least one other positive output to make them feel validated, you know. And, I just think it's gone on too long with these people. I would like to start like challenging more constructively New Age thoughts, because I think this whole left-hand path thing is just starting to get like really fucking absurd. I hate to say it. And yeah, that's all I really gotta say. I'm trying to make videos and being able to like speak again, because I used to be really good like years ago at making videos and talking at length, but it's kind of like riding a bike, you know. I just have to readjust, and you have to bear with me too, because I smoke a lot of herbal cigarettes and I tend to be a long-winded person. But that's my initial thought. There's really no further need to delve into this topic for the time being. I might be back Tuesday to talk about something else.